One of the biggest critiques of the house church movement is people look at it, kind of cross their arms and say, you know, who are you accountable to? Like you're basically the Pope and the elder board and like you and your wife. And that, that's a important criticism. How do we handle that? Well, the way we handle that is that the way that the New Testament was governed was through these elders, and these elders were not in house churches. They were at the city level. They weren't in branded worship services either. They were city churches. We know that for sure. In the very first chapter of Titus, Paul actually commands Titus to go to every city that they had been at and appoint elders, not go to every house church and appoint elders, not to go to every worship service and appoint elders. He said, go to every city and appoint elders. And that was not an unusual thing at all. Every city, every village in that time in history and for thousands of years before that were governed by city fathers. You see this in the book of Ruth, 2,000 years earlier. You see this whole city of Bethlehem being governed by a group of elders that sat at the city gate. We need to be submitting ourselves to city elders. And so the problem is, where do you find those guys? Like, how do you find elders who are governing the city that they don't exist anymore? And if they exist, they usually are governing a particular worship service expression. They're not necessarily, don't even see themselves as city fathers. So one way that we really encourage you guys to do this over the course of the 6 months is that if you launch a house church, we encourage you to think of it 2 or 3 city fathers that you would be willing to, if all 2 or 3 of them agreed and said, hey, you need to stop teaching that you would reflexively submit to what they say as a group. These are people that are respected, not just by you, but by other people for their spiritual maturity. They meet the requirements of elders that are described in the New Testament. You can begin to restore the city elders by simply acknowledging that there does exist some city fathers in your city, and they should probably be respected, and they can kind of have this oversight role. So I tell people in our house church, look, here are the city fathers that I reflexively submit to as a group. If you ever see me doing anything that you feel like is out of line, teaching something, and you tell me and I disagree or I won't listen, you go to them and they will start an investigation, figure out if I'm in sin, figure out if there's something I'm teaching that's wrong. And if they tell me that they, as a group, disagree with me and believe that I should stop, and I disagree with them, I will submit to them, not myself. Like, that protects everyone in my house church and everyone that listens to me. And so I believe it's important to be in submission to the city elders, to city fathers. But this is a hard thing to figure out, given the fact that we've somehow no longer practiced this form of government. But I think you start to recreate it in your city. And we've tried to do that here in Cincinnati.